Hello and welcome to the Healthcare Uncomplicated YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed so far, make sure you click the subscribe button. Also, share this content with your communities in healthcare and check all the previous episodes. And today I have Grace Cordovano. She is the CEO and founder at Enlightening Results. She's also the co-founder at Unblock Health. Grace, how are you?
I'm terrific, João. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for accepting my invite. And today we are here to discuss the topic, the importance of patient voice. And Grace, the first question that I have for you is, why is it important to have a strong patient representation and voice?
There's so many topics now about inequities in care, in healthcare, in clinical trials, in AI. And it's so concerning because everyone says they're so patient-centered and patient-friendly and patient-focused and putting the patient at the center of their care. And yet, on the stages at conferences, in work groups, in task forces, we very rarely see inclusive, diverse representations of the very people that these innovations, tools, technologies, and information are going to be impacting and integrating with their very lives. It is so incredibly important that we don't just focus on being patient-centered, but we focus on co-creation with inclusive, diverse representation of all stakeholders. There's no other way forward.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I do agree with you. We still see a big gap and things kind of running the old way, if you like. And the second question is very prominent to this is how can we make sure that we have more patients involved?
We first of all should be asking and reaching out who's not represented. Let's take a look at just AI. We talk about bias and we talk about inequities. Those are two very strong themes and points of emphasis in many organizations across healthcare. I think not just in the US, but globally and internationally. What are we doing to include patients? That means perhaps we need to set a budget line item for a budget to actually compensate patients for their time, expertise, and contributions to various areas of expertise. You see, many stakeholders who participate in decision-making processes are compensated by their organization, their travel expenses, they're on salary, conference registrations, flights, hotels, meals, that's all included and part of their expected work. It's part of their, what may be a promotion strategy or career growth. Patients don't have that same foundation and same setup. Often, many of them are disabled and too sick to be able to be working. And a lot of these expenses are covered out of pocket. That's completely unacceptable. And we should be recognizing that the patient voice is a subject matter expertise level of contribution and should be compensated as such. I frequently am frustrated by the barriers that I myself as an advocate face, where I try to include different patients and care partners and caregivers in some very exciting projects. And when I say, you know what, the commitment is 2 hours every other week, and there's materials to review, and there's meetings and presentations, and it's going to go for 6 months or a year. And they ask, well, what's the compensation or honorarium for this? And I say, I'm embarrassed to say there is none. And they say, Grace, I can't afford to participate in this level of commitment. This is consulting work. This is expertise work. So I think we have a lot of room for improvement. And I think that there's also a misunderstanding in that people expect patient advocates and patients to give voluntarily, that it's a voluntary pro bono act of goodness, act of kindness. And it should be up to the individual that's invited how they choose to allocate their time. It shouldn't be just, we're expecting you to volunteer. Sorry, we don't have a budget. Hey, well, maybe we can get you a bagel and a cup of coffee.
Grace, these are fantastic points. Thank you for highlighting these items, but also this requires a shift in mindset, the way we should move forward. I mean, I do agree with you. Is a skill set, is considered expertise, and also is very valuable as it seems to be because now digital health, as you know, is highly competitive, and the ones they're gonna be successful are the ones that actually um, including these things, the patient voice, the co-creation, hearing different stakeholders and adapt and evolving to be successful long term. So it's also valuable. We might not perceive as value to start with, but it's highly valuable. So thank you so much for highlighting this. Moving
I
on.
do want to say one more thing.
Sure.
It's solid business strategy to include these insights up front. It could save you 6 months of spinning your wheels where you design something and then you need to pause and say, uh-oh, we made a mistake. We should really do it this way. We see this in a clinical trial space where a protocol is designed and then the patient community takes a look at it and says, gosh, this is completely unreasonable. It's never going to be successful. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And it's extremely difficult and quite costly to make any changes in these protocols once they're already in action. So it's solid business strategy to make including patients into whatever life cycle of innovation you're working on.
And this is a fantastic input. I didn't show you my questions, and my last question, moving on, is what are the biggest risks and consequences of not having patient voice? So can you
Okay,
develop
so we
them?
touch on that one. So that's a great one. But here's another one I'm going to say. As someone who has the privilege of attending many conferences in healthcare and in life sciences, and I've heard this from many of my colleagues, so this was a great place for me to bring it up. One of our main concerns, of course, is trust and transparency. And how do we engage patients to use new innovations, digital health, new technologies, new drugs, go to new trials, try new centers of excellence or new, perhaps, physicians' offices and practices. One of the most concerning things that I often hear in healthcare from the podiums and stages and during podcasts is the innovator that says, well, I have no experience in healthcare. This is a passion project of mine. I've never been to the doctor. We've been fortunate. We've never had a catastrophic diagnosis. And that is a complete red flag, because as someone who is approached to routinely review startups and ideas and plans, one of the first things that I and many of my patient advocate colleagues who do similar work do is we'll go to the site and look for patient stories. We look for what the boards look like. Is there a patient advocate? We do some competitive intelligence research on where they've been active, where they're volunteering. When there is no activity in healthcare and there's no personal experience, it is really tragic, and it really makes us suspicious and say, gosh, there's no way this is going to be successful. It's all marketing buzzwords if you don't have partnership with a patient voice, with patient stakeholders, with care partners, with surviving care partners, someone who has lost a loved one to a specific disease or catastrophic situation like a cancer diagnosis. If we're not including those unmet needs and those perspectives, not only is the model likely to be unsuccessful, it's not going to be one that patient communities are celebrating and are following along because their perspectives have not been included. The priorities that are being ideated and designed for are from the payer or from the healthcare delivery organization, not from the perspective of the life that's impacted by a diagnosis.
These are very important things, what you mentioned, actually, that understanding, empathy, all these things related to the patient, related to the provider, is a relationship, and is highly, highly important. Grace, we could talk for hours on this subject and many others. We're both very passionate about digital health. I have one last question for you, which is related to the channel. An overall question is, how can we make healthcare uncomplicated?
We need to start teaching people about the power of their health information. We have made significant progress in allowing individuals to have access to physically see their health information. We still have work to do to make it more seamless and more longitudinal. We need to now start teaching people about the power of their health information. As Dr. Mickey Tripathi will say, how do we interact with our healthcare data? And then what I teach patients to do is how do they use the insights and the information there to hack healthcare, to navigate around barriers like prior auths, determining medical necessity, appealing insurance denials, filing for Social Security disability benefits, connecting to the right trials, understanding who the experts are in their disease, how do they participate in research, how do they connect with peer health support communities. We have failed patients and health citizens because we are not teaching them that component. And I even feel strongly that teaching children from K through 12 incrementally about what are clinical trials, what is digital health, what is an insurance card, what is a payer. All of these things should be concepts that are incrementally introduced so that children and young adults can be proactive members of US healthcare, but also it benefits those who are maybe children and young adults in immigrant populations where they may be the most digitally savvy. They may be the ones who have the best handle on the English language and are navigating care for their loved ones. So we need to make sure we're arming everyone, not just adults living with a condition, but everyone who may be touching healthcare so that they're armed with the information, tools, and technology they need to make informed decisions about their care.
Thank you, Grace. That's fantastic. Is also very, very often the missing link, the health education piece. Grace, I want to thank you for your time, for connecting with me again. We met recently in Nashville, and I know you're very active. So I want to thank you for these amazing insights, your expertise, and also your contribution to the industry. And nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. I'm going to wrap up now. To all our viewers and listeners, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, acknowledge our partners, channel partners. And also, I'm going to post Grace's social media here, her LinkedIn, her Twitter. She is very, very active, as you can see. Engage with her, ask her questions. She is a true expert, and I wish you all the best, and I'll see you all next week.